Hi everyone, my name is Maribel. Today we're going to be talking about the Ferris wheel. They're a crucial part to any good amusement park, so we're going to learn what they are, how they work, and then we're going to apply that knowledge to build our own Ferris wheel. So what are some things you know about Ferris wheels? Why are they great? They're good because they're for all ages. It's a calming, relaxing ride. When you get to the top of the Ferris wheel, you can see the entire city. And some huge Ferris wheels are adorned with beautiful, colorful lights. So some famous ones are the Mickey's Fun Wheel in Disney World. Right? It's really it's got a lot of rainbow colors, it's bright, it's colorful, it's large. And another famous Ferris wheel is the London Eye in London, England. So we're going to be building our own Ferris wheel, but we got to keep in mind some things if we want to build our own Ferris wheel. So we're going to study the structure of the Ferris wheel, and then we're going to apply that to our build. So the first part of the Ferris wheel is the support. Now in order to support the weight of the Ferris wheel and the people riding the Ferris wheel, we have the main structure, which is this triangular shape, and that holds up the base of the Ferris wheel. The reason we use a triangle is because a triangle is considered to be the strongest shape. Why? Because the force applied at the tip of the triangle will be dispersed onto the entire base of the two other sides of the triangle. So it can hold up the entire Ferris wheel and balance it and hold up the heavy weight. So that's why we use a triangle structure in the center of the Ferris wheel. So the first is building the proper support. And the second is the wheel. The wheel of the Ferris wheel is centrosymmetric, which means that every point is a mirror image of the other side. It's a perfect circle. So we're going to make sure we make a perfect centrosymmetric shape as the wheel. And then the motor. So where do you think the motor is going to be powering the Ferris wheel? The motor is going to be working on the center here to turning the gears to start turning the entire Ferris wheel. So it's at the axle of the wheel. And then lastly, of course, we want people to ride on our Ferris wheel. So we're going to add in some seats so that people can go on our Ferris wheel. So those are the 4 parts to our Ferris wheel: the support, the wheel, the motor, and the seats. So make sure you have all your parts out in front of you, and we're gonna get started on the build. The first thing we're gonna do is build the support. So to begin, take 2 frames of 5 by 11, get 2 double pin connectors and pin them in so that you have 1 pinhole in the middle, 1 pinhole free at the top, and 1 pinhole free at the bottom. And so now you can connect both of your frames. And that's going to begin the base for our triangular shape. Now you want to take 2 size 15 beams, put a black pin on one end of each of those beams, and you're going to put it at the last pinhole at the top of your frame on each side. And now you're going to take your size 5 beam and put a pin at the bottom pinhole and in the middle pinhole. And now you can connect your size 13 beam. So it goes right at the top of the beam, so it's in the third and first pinhole. And then you're going to take a black pin and put it in the last pinhole. And then you're going to put it in the bottom pinhole, making sure that the size 5 beam is on the outside of the frame. And you're going to do another one of those. So you're going to do the exact same steps again. So make sure they're in the last pins of each frame and that the size 5 beam are on the outsides. So that you can see we have our triangular structure. We're not going to put anything yet to connect them. We're going to connect them in a few more steps, but you can see that we have the triangular structure and support to begin building the rest of our Ferris wheel. So for the next step, you're going to grab all 4 of your size 15 beams, 2 axle 8s, 4 cross blocks of size 2, and 4 black pins. Put a black pin in each pinhole for all 4 of your cross blocks. Now taking one axle 8, you're going to insert the cross hole into the axle. Taking your size 15 beam, you're going to put the axle through the 8th block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's going to be the middle, and that's where you're going to want your beam to go into the axle. And then you want the pin to be facing towards the beam, so you can insert the black pin inside of the beam. Now taking another size 15 beam, again you're going to put it into the 8th hole, so count 3, 6, 7, 8, and hold it in an X shape. So they should be in complete opposite directions. And you're going to secure that by putting another cross block through the cross hole and just inserting that through the axle so that the black pin can go into the beam. And now it's secured, and you can see we're building the part of our wheel, and it is completely centrosymmetric, meaning that each point has an inverse. And so it's a complete mirror image. It's a perfect circle. So we're going to do another one of those same builds. So again, axle 8, cross block, beam in the 8th hole, beam in the 8th hole, and then secure it with your last cross block, making sure the black pin goes all the way into the beam and that they're all stuck and they're all right next together. Next, you're going to take an axle connector. You're going to put that into one side of your axle 8 and push it all the way in as much as you can, and then pushing through the other side, you're going to push it up so that it's right up against the axle connector. You don't want any space between the two. And now on the other side, you're going to do the same thing. Connect it and then push all of your pieces together. So I'm going to push my pin back in. It should be as far in as you can possibly push it. Notice that there's no space between any of my pieces. And you want it to be right in the middle of your two axles. So make sure it's even on both sides. Make sure you get this step done right, because it might screw up the build if they're not connected in properly. The hardest part of this build is getting the wheel right and getting the seats right. So just make sure everything looks good before you move on to the next step. Now you're going to attach your wheel to your support. So you're going to put it into the center inside, and you're going to put the axle through the first pin on the size 15 beam, and then you're going to put it through the size 5 beam. So the size 5 beam is on the outside. Just like that, and you can see we have the wheel with the support. Now, do you guys remember what the third part is? The Ferris wheel is going to need to have a motor that works on the axle of the wheel. So first, you're going to take a motor, a black pin, and put the black pin into the bottom pinhole of your motor. Insert your motor into one side of the axle, so the axle goes into the middle, the cross hole of your motor, and you're going to secure the black pin so that it goes into the size 5 beam. It helps to hold it on the other end so you don't push in too hard and ruin the build. So you just want to hold it firmly on the other side. Make sure everything is clipped in, and then to secure the other end, take a full bushing and just press it up and push both sides so that all your pieces are held together tightly. So now we have the 3 parts complete. We have the support, we have the wheel, and you can start turning, and we have the motor. So of course, the last step, do you guys remember? We're gonna need the seats. So let's go on and build the seats. Take 2x4 angular beams, and I'll show you how to make one seat, and then we're gonna do 3 more of them. So first, put 2 black pins in the bottom 2 pinholes on the shortest side of the angular beam. Grab a beam of size 3, I'll take a green one. Put a black pin in the last pinhole of the beam. Connect the same color beam right next to it. And then put 2 black pins in the remaining pins of the size 3 beam. And then secure it on the other end with another 2x4 angular beam. So we have our first seat. We're going to make 3 more of those the same way using the same colored beam. So we got yellow, red, and blue. So we're going to have a green seat, a yellow seat, a red seat, and a blue seat. So let's just keep on going and build the 3 remaining seats. Got my third seat. And we have all 4 seats complete. The next step is going to be the hardest step. Just be patient and make sure all the steps that you go through in this part are all correct So we'll go through it together to make sure there's no mistakes. So first, grab any seat you like and take an axle 8 with stop. So I got a stopper on the end. What you want to do is put the axle through the top pinhole of one of your size 15 beams. You're going to grab a full bushing, push it through the axle. Before you push it anymore, you're going to put the axle into the cross hole at the top of your seat. You want to make it go through both of the angular beams, so you're going to have to push a little bit on the beam so that it goes right up against. So keep pushing it as you push it through. And don't push it through the beam yet, because we're going to put another full bushing on the other side of your angular beam. So I still got space. I'm going to put another bushing. Again, pushing it through as much as you can. So every time I'm pushing it, I'm pushing both angular beams. And then have it so that it should be perfectly fit in between the two beams. There's no spacing between any of the bushings or the beams. If there is some space, just spread out the chair a little bit, push the bushings a little farther out, but it should be perfectly spaced out. And now we're going to rotate and do the same for the other 3 seats. So again, just be patient, because it's important you get the spacings of the chair right. So we're going to push it through. And remember to put another bushing, so 2 bushings per chair. And then at this step, push a little more, space them out. They should be perfectly, it shouldn't look too tight, it shouldn't look too loose. They should be all connected and well spaced out. If you still have some room, just push in the axle, space out the chair and the bushings until it looks good. You can see we should have a swinging motion for both chairs. Turn your wheel and continue. On to the last chair. It gets easier as you go along. And our final bushing. It's all about pushing and spacing out, pushing and spacing out. And we got the swinging, and we have all our chairs perfectly secured. Now, the final step before we get onto the motor is to support the frame a little more, because although this triangular support is strong, with the movement of the Ferris wheel, we just want to balance it out, because the motor adds weight to one side. So we just want to hold that up a bit more by using a 5x11 frame and a double pin connector. Put it into the second and third pinhole from the top, and then you can put it on along the 2 first pinholes that you see so that it's even with the rest of the structure. And that's it. So we're done the build. We're going to go on and do the motor. So we're going to attach with the cable. We're going to attach our medium motor to our brick. And now open up your EV3 program to begin the programming. So all we want to do is have our Ferris wheel turn in a circle, and we want to just have it keep doing that until we turn off the brick or the program on the brick. So what do you think the first step is? There's 2 steps to this program. The first block, could you take a guess what you think it might be? We're going to need to do this inside of a loop block because we want our wheel to keep on spinning. So make sure that the next block is going to be inside a loop block. And then for the second step, we're working with the medium motor. So drag up the medium motor block into the loop. And we're going to put on for a power of 20. 20 is a good enough speed, or else it's going to go too fast and won't be very enjoyable if you were riding it. So we're going to do a power of 20, and then make sure your ports line up with what you have connected and that it's a lettering port because we're using a motor. And then upload it to the brick. You can use Bluetooth, USB, whatever you like. And we're going to test out the program and see our Ferris wheel. And we have our Ferris wheel. So to cover what we learned today about the structure, we saw the motor working at the axle of the wheel. We saw the triangular support needed to support the Ferris wheel. We saw the centrosymmetry of the wheel, so it's a perfect circle. And, of course, the motor. So we've built, and the chairs as well. So we've built the Ferris wheel. That's it for today's build. If you like, feel free to add more to it. See if you can build a bigger Ferris wheel with more chairs. And that's it for today's build. We'll see you for the next one, and make sure to put all your pieces away. Bye, everyone.